Hey everybody, this is Perch. Hey, I did a live stream the other day. I think by the time you're kind of listening to this, I probably will have had one or two live streams go out. We'll do a little bit more. I know this is kind of weird, and if you listen to the live stream with Joe Corallo, Joe Casey, we talked about Keith Giffen, which was a great conversation. It was a good kind of, I don't know, different kind of memorial. It was kind of a comic store memorial where you're talking about kind of memories, things they did. It was more. It didn't get into kind of the grief aspects, and more was just a conversation about the guy's work, which was fun to do. But live streams for me are tough because I don't, really. I know this is weird, and Joe kind of encapsulated this a little bit, but not quite. I get hung up in my own head around the live stream, around getting prepared for it and doing things. Talking in the car, like I'm doing right now, doesn't take any effort. It just is kind of ideas off the top of my head. The part that, again, I've said this a million times. I don't think it really hits people. Is I don't necessarily care whether there's one person or 1,000 people listening to this right now. It's just me talking. It's why when some of these other douchebags who have like half the subscribers do like these 5-hour live streams dissecting my stuff, I'm thinking about you, Shane Davis. But when they do this kind of stuff, it's like I don't know what you're doing because I don't care. Nobody cares. For me, I mean, I'm driving down the street right now. I'm passing the Dollar Tree, which can I just pause for a moment and say, like, how many fucking dollar stores do we need in Texas? For the love of God, they all need dollar in the name. That's why I like Five Below, because at least they didn't use dollar in their name. I mean, my God. But anyway, this is what I'm doing. It's not meant to be anything more than this. But the live stream, on the other hand, is a different story. It's a live performance art. I've got to get prepared for it. I've got to get, I want to, you guys are tuning in at a specific time. These videos can come out any ass time, and you can listen to it, a year from now. It may be the year 2027, and you're listening to this video for the first time. More power to you. But that's on you. But if you're going to show up for a live stream, I agree. This doesn't make any sense, but it's what's in my head. Is that the live streams feel like I need to put a lot more into it to actually, be worthy of your time, not my time, but your time. You're going to show up and you're going to do something, so I need to bring an A game, and for me, bringing an A game, like Jesus Christ, I mean that's very difficult because there's not a lot of A game in the game. So anyway, it's funny, that dynamic. But I'm going to read you this mail because I don't want to. I don't want to pick on it. There's nothing to pick on. It's actually kind of funny, but let's do it. It says, Perch. If this is the death of comics, it's not the death of comics, by the way. I think for a number of people, there's an investment for it to be the death of comics. And what I mean by that is, and I think I'm saying something that most of you know, but very few people speak out loud, which is there's a handful of people who have monetized agendas and comics dying as part of their business model. And again, good for you. I'm not, no shade, smart that you're doing that because you're making money, but it doesn't make it not a plan. It doesn't make it not your business model. I know by the way, I'll throw one more thing out. Every now and then I do videos, and it always comes in a row. Like somebody will post in like every video for like a week or two, the same point. And they do it in this douchey bullshit way where they're like, they're trying to compel you into speech. And by the way, one of the hallmarks of the culture war is people who are on the, for lack of a better word, the SJW or the anti-SJW side really want you to use specific words. They really, really badly want you to use their language. And nothing is more, to use a term, nothing is more quote unquote soy than forcing you to use their language. The one that's going on right now, or has been going on for several months, is the word agenda. So people, for whatever reason, in the anti-SJW side, really badly, in the depths of their soul, want me to say that there's an agenda in comics. But the problem is, I actually know the English language, and to say agenda, it means something. Words actually have meaning. And agenda means that there's some orchestrated plot. I look, you could phrase it any way you want. Yes, some schlub can have a agenda of one to do something. That's called a personal opinion more than agenda. That's really warping the use of the word. But people confuse stupidity and just generally lack of giving a shit. And they do this because, quite frankly, it's profitable. If I go on and I do a YouTube channel where there's people in the comic industry who's trying to screw you, if I say they're all stupid and they're trying to do stupid things to get you to do stupid things, that doesn't give me, nobody's going to buy into that. But if I say there's a hidden agenda, then it now it starts to feel like a conspiracy. It's something that you can get behind, and it's something that at some point in the video I can say, and that's why you need to send me $50 to help you along your way. That's what that's all about. But please, for the love of God, quit trying to compel speech. And in all seriousness, I'm talking to you, the anti-SJW crowd. Quit trying to get me to use certain words. Nothing, nothing says, soy bitch more than try to get somebody to talk in your language. And that's what some of you are trying to do. Stop it. Right now, full stop. The people who send me the most quote-unquote night letters are people who are like, I really need you to use the words like some kind of Taliban hostage. I need you to use the words that the comic industry is screwed and it's because of an agenda. Quit telling me what to say, you assholes. Quit it. Quit it. I know, by the way, if you're listening to this right now and you're starting to get offended and you're like, how dare that guy say that? I don't say those things. Cool. I'm not talking about you at all. You're a wonderful, beautiful human being. Not saying anything about you at all. If this doesn't fit you, no problem. But I mean, full stop. There are people who really go all in on that shit. And it drives me absolutely crazy. All right, back to the mail. It says, if this is the death of comics, and quote, by comics, I mean American mass market, sequential art created by a human or humans, okay, no AI, using traditional or digital illustration and writing techniques, printed as a saddle stitch for perfect proud approximately 8 by 10 periodical in black and white or full color and produced by a publisher to an audience or readers that purchase these products in enough quantity to pay the human creators a living wage, regardless of where the comics are created. Thank you for the disclaimer, but God bless you, sir. You are a man after my own heart. I mean, I'm assuming here. Well, I mean, yeah, okay. There's a little picture that goes with the name, so yes. Thank you, sir. It says, if comics are dead, what stage of grief are you experiencing? Okay, cool. And there's a little link to the psychology stages of grief. And so this is a good question to the audience here. It says, grief can be experienced in reaction to any significant loss, although it is most commonly associated with the loss of a loved one or living thing that has died. Someone who is grieving could experience the 5 stages in any order and may experience only some of the stages as opposed to all of them. All right. Further, there is no set amount of time for which someone grieving will remain in that any one stage, and someone who is experiencing more than one of the stages at any one time. In other words, grief is very personal and nuanced, and everyone grieves in their own way. All right, so psychological definition, but it's and by the way, grief, and this is important for everyone to understand. Comics can die for you. It doesn't necessarily mean that comics is dying for everyone. Now, for most of us, and I heard that this is a fantasy that 95% of all human beings experience. It is the fantasy where you believe that you are the only living conscious being on the planet, and everything else is a simulation. Basically, the entire world around you is fake, and it's only you that matters. It's only your experience that matters. What kind of separates a psychopath from a functional human being is if you have these ideas in your head every now and then versus have these ideas in your head all the time. But basically 95% of all human beings wonder at some point in their life if they are the only thing that matters on the planet. And that's a reasonable thing. But grief kind of operates that way. For you, if comics are dying, it matters more than anyone else because it's you. This is normal. If comics die for you, but they live on somewhere else, does it really matter? It's like the tree falling in a forest. If no one hears it, does it really fall? Well, comics dying is like that. If comics loses their power, their imagination, their hold on you, doesn't really matter if it keeps it for everyone else on the planet. It's you who no longer gets to love and enjoy and be part of this whole thing. So, all right, we go through the stages of grief. We got 5 stages here, so we're gonna read through them. There's number 1, denial and isolation. Okay, denial and isolation is when you basically believe that you're not it's not actually happening. When we lose something or someone important to us, it is natural to reject the idea that it could be, true. In turn, we may isolate ourselves to avoid reminders of the truth. Others who wish to comfort us may only make us hurt more while we are still coming to terms with the idea. This is basically like, I can't believe comics are actually suffering for me. I can't believe that I no longer enjoy them. So therefore, I'm going to kind of retreat. I don't want to admit anything. I used to comic shop, used to talk to other people, but I'm going to kind of hide from that. I'm going to try and pull into myself and basically kind of deny that any of this is happening. That's the isolation part of grief. And this is normal. Like, if there's a boyfriend, girlfriend that you have, then, you basically like, this can't be happening to me. I'm not ready to admit anything is happening. It's kind of what that is. Then stage 2, anger. In fairness, this is where I feel like most of the people who are dealing with comics are at right now. They're at anger. This is where you cannot quite believe that this nonsense is going on. So it says, when it is no longer possible to live in denial, it is common to become frustrated and angry. We might feel like something extremely unfair has happened to us and wonder what we did to deserve it. Okay, we love comics for years and years and years and decades, and now these assholes are screwing it up. That's anger for you. It's where you can't believe they're doing this shit. Don't they realize if they just didn't do this nonsense, that everything would be better? That's anger for you. And then we get to bargaining. Bargaining. In this stage, we might somehow seek to change the circumstances of the situation, causing our grief. Bargaining may be an attempt to regain a sense of control as a defense against hopelessness. For example, a grieving person might seek to negotiate with themselves and the people around them, fate, the universe, or a higher power, to change the circumstances. Bargaining can also look like ruminating about the details of the loss, seeking to understand or make sense of it, and wishing to go back and change the past in the hopes of preventing the loss. Now, what often happens is people bounce between anger and bargaining. So what happens is you get to the bargaining stage and you're like, hey, you know what? I'll just buy 1 X-Men book. Just 1. You can have 20 X-Men books that are stupid as hell, but just give me 1 book that is okay, and I'll keep buying your shit. Can you give me just 1 bargaining? But please, one book that doesn't suck. If you could just do that. A lot of people get stuck up there. But then eventually you get to depression, or as sometimes is described, apathy. In this stage, we feel the full weight of our sadness over the loss. The grieving person may describe feeling deep sorrow, anguish, and extreme pain. Feeling extremely down in the wake of loss is normal. However, it is important to be aware that clinical depression is different from grief, and they are treated differently by mental health professionals. Okay, see the buried line between grief and depression for more information. This is where, by the way, you feel I like apathy better than depression because you just feel like you don't. It's like, you know what, fuck it, I don't care. Make Wolverine a chipmunk robot. I just, I'm out. I don't. This isn't acceptance. This is just like you've screwed it so badly. I no longer care. That's acceptance. That's acceptance or depression. Not acceptance. Sorry, apathy or depression. Because stage 5, acceptance. Eventually, the grieving person may come to terms with their loss. Accepting a loss does not necessarily mean the person is no longer grieving. In fact, many grief experts say that grief can continue for a lifetime after a major loss, and coping with the loss only becomes easier over time. Waves of grief can be triggered by reminders of the loss long after it has happened and long after the person has, quote-unquote, accepted it. These waves may also trigger a crossover into any of the other 4 stages of grief. Acceptance, in this instance for comics, is saying, all right, you've killed it for me. I will always remember the comic I loved. I'll always remember Watchmen or Killing Joke or Secret Wars or whatever it happened to be that I enjoyed. I'll always love these books. But comics as a whole, there's not going to be anything that's really going to catch me. Now, I think we saw an interesting relapse of that when Jonathan Hickman did House of X Powers of 10, because that was a case where a lot of comic fans who had hit acceptance came back around and said, you know what, maybe there's hope. And then, quickly dashed. But that's where it goes. So to wrap up here, the 5 stages of grief. Is that what this looks like for you? Is that what comics is? It doesn't have to be anger all the time. It can simply be, this is what comics have become for us. And, the good part about acceptance is you still got to love what you love. But you don't get caught up in the drama and the swirl of all this other nonsense. So there you go. I'm leaving you with a big cliffhanger. Where are you at? Thanks for lifting. Thanks for lifting. You all keep it in shape. Thanks for listening.